Hello, hello. Welcome back to the 94 Co channel. So, it's been a while since I've been on camera. Just been busy with dad stuff, with personal projects, with customer projects. Just been kind of laying low, driving the car, enjoying it. A couple of items before we get started. One, as you can see, I did a bunch of cleaning in the garage. Number two, I got these high quality wireless mics. Today, we're going to shoot a video that I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is kind of like a full walk around on my Mark 6 GTI. I bought this in 2016, so I'm in my 8th year of ownership. This was my first car. This is a forever car. So there's all kinds of stuff that I've done to it that I haven't mentioned on YouTube. We'll start from the outside, and we'll kind of work away from the front to the back, and then we'll dive into the engine, and then we'll dive into the interior. So, let's get it. So, start off, we'll start with the obvious, and that is we are bagged. So, we are on the Bag Riders super low bags, front and rear, and that is being controlled by Airlift's 3P management. This is what it looks like when I am aired out. As you can see, we're running fender to lip, front and rear. And this is what it looks like when we are driving around day to day at my ride height. The centerpiece around my fender to lip fitment obviously are my OZ Futuras. These are real split 3-piece OZ Futuras. These originally came out of Italy as a 17-inch wheel. I have double stepped them up to 18 inches, 18 by 10 to be exact, with about a 25 offset. So these are rather aggressive, which is why we've got that poke on the lips to give us that fender to lip fitment. The centers I powder coated gloss white with a green flake, and then clear coated over both of those powder coats. Powder coated the chrome hardware with a liquid smoke to kind of give that pseudo black chrome look. And then the lips are 2.5-inch lips that I brushed and clear coated as well. But these are my forever wheel. This is my go-to wheel. This is my #1 favorite wheel of all time. I think these look amazing on not just Volkswagens, but really any car, but Euros especially. I think it is a timeless look. It's a classic look. I love a fat, chunky 5-spoke wheel, and I have the opportunity to pick these up. I drove 16 hours round trip in a day to get them, and I have zero regrets. I've had these wheels for a number of years. They've gone through a couple iterations, a couple different build specs, a couple different colors, but this is how they've sat for a while now. I love the white on white look, and yeah, these are just my favorite wheel of all time. Fun fact, I actually have 5 of these wheels, and I turned one of them into a table. Behind our OZ Futuras are our Porsche 986 brakes. So these are base model Porsche Boxster brakes. This is an awesome upgrade, especially for cars running aggressive wheels, because it is not a huge caliper. As you can see, it is barely fitting behind our 17-inch face. But I love this because it uses a stock rotor, it uses the stock lines. All you need to run these 986 brakes are the caliper, an adapter bracket, and the pads. But I did the rear calipers to match. No fancy brake upgrades in the rear other than just some slotted rotors and some good pads, but I did powder coat the rear calipers to match. So while we're talking about the exterior appearance of the car, I do have a Rieger lip that I had painted to match the rest of the car. Rieger does offer a center spoiler, however, this is not a real one. This is actually one that I made out of HDPE. This was a $30 sheet of plastic that, after some cutting and trimming, I got to kind of fit like the real thing. This car originally came with xenons. We still have OEM xenons, however, these are the facelifted ones, which are pretty much the same, other than they have the little LED running lights. Other than that, it's just a regular old xenon. This is an aftermarket grille because I like the chrome stripes. It is stock fitment. We have a little 3D printed VR6 badge that my brother-in-law helped me make. And then we have kind of the basic, Mark 6 fog shrouds, but I do love the way that these look around the side of the car. But these are actually OEM Euro power folding mirrors. And then Euro Tuning offers these Audi S-style kind of pseudo brushed aluminum mirror caps. But this is one of my favorite mods I've done to the car. I'm a sucker for rare, unusual Euro spec mods, cool stuff that we didn't get in the States. We have OEM Mark V Thunder Bunny skirts with a cool Porsche GT3 style 3.6 badge that my buddy Drew did. Thank you, Drew. These were a really rare option for Mark 5s, but they happen to fit the Mark 6 chassis as well. I do love that they sit decently low for an OEM skirt, but I'm actually going to be swapping these out for the Rieger skirts, which look like this. So if any of y'all are actually interested in purchasing these OEM Thunder Bunny skirts, these things are mint. There's not a crack or scratch on them, and I even have the original like brochure for them. DM me on my personal or shop Instagram. Around the back of the car, we have, this is one of my favorite mods because the GTI bumper sits so high in the rear. So we have some Osser rear bumper extensions that are also painted to match the rest of the car. V-Land Smoke Euro taillights with the sequential turn signals. I have Touareg exhaust tips, and appropriately these did come off of a VR6 Touareg, but the diesel ones are exactly the same. Matter of fact, I contemplated taking these off of my diesel Touareg, but I was able to find an extra set. So we have Touareg exhaust tips with a strafe. This is a metal diffuser. I actually ordered this from them unpowder coated, so I could powder coat it myself, and I did these green accents. And a little ECS hat spoiler. I have had this almost as long as I've had the car. Our roof is wrapped black. Pretty standard stuff here. Moving on to the trunk of the car, since we are bagged, we have our air tank. This is all powder coat, including the 94 logo and including the fade. I actually powder coated the fade in there. That is not like washed out. That is actually how I powder coated it. So we have our air tank hooked up to an ECS tuning rear hatch brace, and so everything is fed into one line into the tank. I love how clean this looks. Because of our engine swap, we did have to relocate the battery into the back, so I just have this clamped down, nut-certed into the chassis of the car, just with a very cost-effective Amazon battery mount. And then we have, I joke around, my friends call this the boomer board. So we kind of have like some highlights of the car. Not everything, but just, you know, the kind of main hitting points. As I mentioned, we have our air compressors. There's our airlift manifold. This is our vacuum control box for our valve muffler. I'll kind of touch on that later. And then just miscellaneous bits of wiring in order to accomplish our swap. So that pretty much entails the trunk. Now, let's go to the engine. This is actually one of the things that I get the most comment on. Are my gloss white wiper blade arms? So yes, in case y'all are new here, this car is engine swapped. So what we have here is a 3.6 liter BLV VR6 from a 2007 Volkswagen Passat wagon. Obviously, we have adapted it to fit inside of our Mark 6. So as far as the engine is concerned, I didn't do any performance upgrades other than we have a Mark 5 R32 intake from Forge, and we are running, you can't see them, but we are running USP's Mark 5 R32 test pipe kit. We have some beautiful mounts that BFI sent us. So this is a Mark 5 R32 engine mount. And for our transmission mount, we are actually running a Mark 5 Mark 6 Tiptronic engine mount. Reason I'm running a Tiptronic mount is because our transmission is a Mark 4 24 valve O2M, and it's hard to tell with the intake in the way, but the engine mount bracket is shaped in a way that Tiptronic mount actually just bolts right up to it. So kind of hard to show on camera, but if y'all are interested in learning more about this swap, then check out the link below. I have a 5-part video series on this. Did a mild shave, mildly smooth things out, and then respray the engine bay. I really think it accentuates the swap having a clean engine bay. Even if I didn't shave a single thing, I still would have gone and resprayed everything the way that I did. A couple other things, I powder coated my valve cover the same color combo that we did the OZ Futuras. Since I'm not running a coolant bottle, I'm running a Grayfab 3.6 liter swirl pot. This is a full drop-in replacement that Grayson makes. There is normally a metal coolant line that goes along the side of the head, and this simply replaces it. This has the stock AC condenser, this has the stock fan shroud, but it is running an upgraded Mishimoto radiator for a Mark V R32. That's also going to be the same radiator that fits in a Golf 2.5. We have this cool ECS tuning metal dipstick. We have a full Zealous manufacturing dress-up kit for not only the engine bay, but for the engine and for the transmission. Those of you who have been following this car for a little bit, who follow me on Instagram, know we had some issues in Helen. So I did have an incident in Helen where my alternator just grenaded, totally just failed in beautiful fashion. So since wrapping up this swap, I have had to double back and fix a couple things that have broken. The alternator being one of them, the AC compressor being another. And the day that I got back from Helen, I parked the car in the driveway, unloaded my stuff, said hello to my wife and my son. Later that evening, went to move the car inside and it wouldn't start. The starter left the chat. It had started all it could start. Those were all junkyard parts that were in the car. They were part of our engine that we pulled from the junkyard, so I'm not upset in the slightest that they failed. But yes, it has a new alternator, a new AC compressor, and a new starter since wrapping up that engine swap series. AC lines from an EOS 3.2, those would be the same AC lines from Mark V R32, but that car happened to be in the junkyard, so I grabbed them. Other than that, it's got a stock Passat ECU. I'm not even running a tune. The only sort of coating that we did to the ECU was just to adapt it to this chassis, but this engine is not making a single horsepower more than it was in the Passat that I pulled it out of. Let's move to the inside. Welcome to the inside of my car. So, while we're here, let's just flex a little bit. We almost got 193,000 miles on the chassis. The engine has 173. So inside the car, I have Porsche Lizard Green Alcantara. This would be like an interior option for like a GT3 RS, but this is authentic Porsche Lizard Green Alcantara. As you can see, we have Audi S5 seats in the front and in the rear. The rear was an add-on long after I did the front seats because I had a kid. I wanted to be able to drive him around in here. So I have not reupholstered the rear seats to match the fronts. That is definitely something that's going to happen in the future. But for the time being, our seats, our shift boot, our A-pillars, and our entire headliner are done in this really, really cool, and our door cards, in this really cool, authentic Porsche Lizard Green Alcantara. Okay, this is one that really confused a lot of people. This is a OEM Mark 6 GTI DSG wheel. No, my car did not used to be DSG. As you can see, 1, 2, 3 pedals. There's our clutch, our brake, and our gas. I swapped in a DSG wheel because I wanted to run paddle shifters. BFI was kind enough to send us these paddle shifters. Thank you, BFI. And that is because these actually control the valve muffler that we have in the back. So minus is less sound, plus is more sound. Instead of messing with a button, or a key fob, I can just be driving along and control our valved exhaust this way. Moving on, one of my all-time favorite things I have done to this car is install this Cooler Works short shifter. So this is not your traditional short shifter that goes in the engine bay. This is a full shifter box replacement. So this is a mod that every time I get in the car and drive it, I not only touch this, but I'm constantly using it. So the gear throws are crazy short. That's third, that's fourth. Crazy short. Let me do that again. There's neutral, which first of all, neutral, this thing does not wiggle. Look at that. Spring loaded, returns to center, neutral, third, fourth. It's crazy. On top of it, we do have a BFI golf ball shift knob Thank you again to the guys and girls down at BFI. But this is one of my favorite things I've done to the car. I've had this in the car both with the KO4 2-liter and with my 3.6, and I love it. It just makes gear throws, it makes driving the car so much more fun. You feel more engaged with the car, you feel more in charge. One of my favorite things I've done to the car. We've also installed a Euro cup holder. So this gets rid of the normal, like, you know, 2 holes in the center console. I love that you can cover it. I love that this is an OEM piece, just not available in the US. And it includes a bottle opener, a little VW branded bottle opener. Again, I love my Euro appointments, and the Euro cup holder is no different. I found out that this was a thing for this car, and I just had to get it. Down in the coin tray, we do have a button for our hatch pop, and we also have a USB pass-through for our CarPlay. And this button, if you press it, it makes Oscar appear. Hey, bud. No, this is actually a OE style. I believe this was marketed as like a fog light button, but I actually have this hooked up to our underglow kit. So we are running a kit from Low Glow, and it can do all sorts of colors, but this one that I'm showing right here is pretty fun. I do have my air ride controller housed inside one of the vent housings. So yes, I did have to sacrifice a vent, but that's no big deal. Most of the time I don't have people in the car with me, so I just point this one at me and then close that one off. That's another thing that I get a lot of comments on, is people seem to love how I have housed my air ride controller. So there you have it. That pretty much entails everything that I've done to this car as it sits now. There's been all sorts of mods that have been on and off the car throughout my 8-year history with it, but as it sits, that's pretty much it. So if y'all have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Leave a comment down below what's your favorite mod. Leave a comment down below what your least favorite mod is, or something that you would do differently to the car. And as always, I appreciate y'all watching and checking out the channel. If you haven't already, consider subscribing, and I will see you next time.